All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to bring this Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting to order for Tuesday, April 4th, 2017. First order of business is roll call. I guess we just say our names here and start. Let's start down here. For Nathan Daniel.
Thomas Quinn.
Ann Buckley.
Al Shakely.
Katie Jung, non-voting liaison to the Washoe County Commission.
And glad to have you back, Kitty.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
All right, great. On to item 2, we have Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. It looks like we don't have any public comments that were submitted for this part. We have a couple on some of the agenda items. Would anybody like to make a public comment? All right, Kathy Brandhorst, please come up and make your public comment.
My name is Kathy Brandhorst, and I'm also the United States President. I just wanted to let you know I have moved out of the Donner Motel and into Sparks. I just wanted to tell you, the problem was still existing at the Donner Motel, and it has followed me all the way to Sparks. If you don't take care of the problem in one place, it will also follow you to the next place. It won't, stop until you stop it. There's been a lot more complaints. And I just wanted to let you know, they have no money to rent a place, so they had to shoot down all of the, seniors that live there, and they were filled with bullet holes. One senior is still alive. She lives next door to me, but she has been tied up with a rope to her bed where she cannot escape. And she had her grandchildren visiting her that day, and they put bullet holes in a 4.5-year-old boy. I just wanted to tell you, during that session of trying to steal our places, they have also set up poles and wires. The poles and wires are connected to 2 places, which is mine and a neighbor of mine, which is another little boy. And it has been pulling down my electric really badly and my gas really badly. I have no heat because of the poles and wires connected to my home. And I just wanted to tell you, the only thing I can keep myself warm is my stove. And if they take away my gas out of my stove, I will have nothing. And I just wanted to tell you too, that these people are so desperate to move into the place where I'm at right now, because they wanted the seniors dead. They are veterans. The veterans did not have a chance because they didn't know that they were going to be shot down just for this purpose of moving into a home where they can pay nothing. They have nothing, and they have no way to pay their rent at all. They have no way to pay for gas and electric or phone.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, passes unanimously. Next, move on to approval of the minutes for the March 7th meeting. Any discussion? Any motion? Yes. Yes. Oh, not here. Okay, thank you. Anyway, thank you. Any motion to approve?
Move to approve.
All right,
Second.
second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, minutes passed unanimously. Move on to item 6, which is acknowledgement and recommendation of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contribution to Washoe County. Do we have anything? Nothing this month. All right, moving on, we'll go into introduction of new district managers, Brian Harrower and Jeff Patterson, and our new reservation staff member, Aurora Rudy Ayala. And we have our park superintendent.
Hello. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Parks Operations Superintendent. I would like to introduce 3 new staff members for Washoe County. Brian Harrower is our new district park manager in the North Region. So Brian, we actually had a couple of retirements in December, January, so it opened up some opportunities for some new positions. And one of those positions was the district manager in the North Region. So he is replacing Andy Mink, stationed out of Rancho San Rafael Park. Brian's been working with the county since 2005 as a full-time park ranger, but he officially became part of Washoe County back in 1996 as a lifeguard out at Bowers Mansion Pool. He has a degree in natural resource management from UNR and will be a great addition to the operations division and parks as a manager. Brian, come on up. Okay. Welcome, Brian Harrower.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity. I've lived here and worked here for the vast majority of my life, and I look forward to serving the county for much longer and doing everything I can to make this a great place.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Okay, thank you. Our next district manager is Jeff Patterson. He's going to be working out of the South Region, stationed out of Bartley Ranch Park. Jeff has been a park ranger with Washoe County since 2013. He previously spent a season working at the Washoe Golf Course, and then he actually had a prior life where he spent 10 years working for the city of Reno as the park ranger, also known as the river ranger along the Truckee River. Jeff has a degree in recreation from UNR and is looking forward to the new opportunity to be a manager in the operations division. Come on up, Jeff.
I just want to say thanks to Colleen and you guys for your advocacy. It really helps us out in the parks. Thank you.
Okay. And our last but not least new employee for Washoe County Parks is Rudy Ayala. Her real name is Aurora, but we fondly know her as Rudy. She came to us in December, and so she's a new county employee. She actually came from the medical field previously. She's an office assistant too, and so she is actually taking on the role of park reservations. She's the first on the phones, and she's a great addition to our team. So please welcome Rudy.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity of working here at the county. It's great. I've had lots of fun so far.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. Okay, that's all.
All right, thank you. Any comments?
Just one. Congratulations to all of you, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did and as much as the other employees with the county have. And Brian, especially, it's nice to see you step up and take on that role.
Any others? I'd just like to echo that. Both Brian and Jeff, it's been a real pleasure working with both of you. You guys do a great job, and look forward to your leadership in both the North and South districts. All right, looks like we're moving past item 8 on to item 9, which is an updated presentation by the Poly-Agrarian Institute and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners on an agreement between Washoe County and the Poly-Agrarian Institute. And again, it looks like we have Parks Operations Superintendent Colleen Wallace Barnum.
Thank you. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum. And I'd like to introduce Melissa Nixon and, okay. Neil, and they are both going to be here doing the presentation for Poly Agrarian. You heard from them last month, so this presentation has a little bit more detail in it, and we also have a staff report along with this item. So without further ado, here's Melissa and Neil.
Thank you, Colleen. So thank you for having us here again today. Like she said, I'm Melissa from the Paul Agrarian Institute, and last month we visited you guys and gave you a very overarching introduction of the concept of our nonprofit and kind of all of our hopes and dreams of what we hope to accomplish in a partnership with the Washoe County Parks. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about what the baby steps would be and what exactly we're asking for you guys to give a recommendation to the county commissioners, what we want to do this year or the next couple of years and exactly where we'd like to do it. Where do I move this? Do you know where I pointed?
Might be on, not be on. Side.
No. Thanks. Sorry. You get that, go ahead. There's a laser. Oh, that's good, that'll be handy. Sorry about that, so.
Now it's working.
Oh, great. So on this slide, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview of what's currently going on in the Washoe County food systems. I'm sure you're already aware, so this will just be our perspective. Currently, there is a nonprofit called Urban Roots that helps support school gardens in Washoe County schools and does K-12 education on their teaching campus on 4th Street. There's also the UNR Cooperative Extension, and they run the Master Gardener program. They offer free classes for home gardeners all over with Washoe County Parks. There's the community gardens in Washoe County Parks currently. That's individuals from the community that operate their own little individual plots. And there's for-profit nurseries, which also serve as a resource for the community to go and learn about growing food in our climate. The Paul Agrarian Institute is a nonprofit that wants to kind of fill the gap between that K-12 education component and the home gardeners. So we would be training people who are looking for careers in urban agriculture, who want to start agricultural businesses as entrepreneurs in our area, who don't have an educational resource that really hits that level of engagement. So like I mentioned before, we're a nonprofit. We were founded in 2016, which was just last year, by the executive director of Urban Roots. So Urban Roots, like I said, does K-12 education. Jeff was looking for a way to branch out and provide some educational opportunities for people who had graduated out of the Washoe County School District system. The Paul Agrarian Institute's mission would be to conduct research, so research on specialty crops items, things that do well in our climate, and also really environmentally minded and sustainable agricultural approaches for our area, education for the community, for all of the public, and then increasing food access and security for Washoe County residents. An example of a project that Paul Agrarian Institute has already done is the High Desert Hops Initiative with UNR. So we tested with the university the viability of growing hops as a commercial agricultural project or product in the Great Basin, and it's successful. It's doing great. So the request that we're asking for is to lease some public park acreage. We're asking specifically for access to 5 acres with a long-term lease, so up to 5 years with the option to renew. We want to install a demonstration market farm. So this would be a productive vegetable farm on that property that would serve as a teaching classroom for Washoe County School District students to come and learn about market gardening or for-profit gardening in our area, so that they can then take that education and go and start their own urban agricultural farms in Washoe County. We will pay for everything, especially the water. I know it was a concern last time. We would pay for the infrastructure to install water to water the area that we use, as well as for the water itself. I want to emphasize that this is a demonstration farm. It's not a community garden, so though it would be open to the public, it would always be staffed by Paul Agrarian interns and employees so that the public were guided through that process of visiting the farm. And now I'm going to hand it over to Neil so he can talk to you a little bit about the specifics of the property that we've been looking at.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. So this is a map of Betsy Collin Donnelly Park. It's on the corner of Mayberry and McCarran. And we're open to the suggestions of the Park Commission and the county and the Parks Department to the exact location. What we have done is we've gone and looked at where the water connection is. There's a 4-inch water main that's the main connection that's right on the corner of, or right on that corner of Mayberry and the adjacent property there, the old nursery that was right there, the garden shop. And then the closest water point of connection that we found that was of the size line that we want, which is a 2-inch line, to the actual larger area of the park is noted there, the 2-inch water line, which is for the turf there. And the blue lines that we've drawn on there are our proposed connection where we would like to put in new water line to service the rest of the park for irrigation for the farm. And we have a couple of different options. The 405-foot marker to the north there, or I mean, sorry, to the top, which is to the east, is the shortest distance that would get us close access to a farmable area. We like that northeast corner also because it has the most visibility and it has the best access for the public. The southwest portion is also a good opportunity for access. It's a little bit longer, 535 feet of 2-inch water line, according to the layout we've drawn. We're totally open to suggestions by the park if this is not the best layout. You know, we want to just, these are things that we've researched that we think are appropriate and doable and feasible. So this would be an underground line that would be buried as a main supply for the farm, and then we would extend that with surface lines to actually run the irrigation. And then we've mapped out a few different areas. This is a soils map of the park. Another one of our reasons that we would like the northeast area in particular is that the southwest area, you see there with 669 with the red circle around it, has not as good soils. It's not prime farmland. Whereas the other areas, the soils are rated as farmland of statewide importance. So we would prefer to be able to use that if possible. So here's a more close-up map that just shows the northeast area. And we've subdivided it into areas based on the existing ditches, the irrigation ditches that are there to flood irrigate the pasture currently, and also some historic artifacts like the paved access road, which we want to stay just to the north of. We don't want to claim that since that's needed for other uses as well. And also an historic road that runs down kind of the center of the property. You see it at the bottom of the figure there, which is vehicle access and has looked like it was used for vehicle access in the past as well. And then the two areas that are outlined in pink, which are within the irrigated pastures, those are 1/2 acre. And initially we would be starting with a 1/4 acre, and then we would like to expand to a 1/2 acre. So over the course, they would start very small, the footprint, and it could be expanded beyond that. In the long term, we'd be looking to fill the green areas with market gardens to bring it up to scale, but we wouldn't start there. We'd start small and work our way up based on success and in partnership with the park. A similar scenario has been laid out here. Again, in the currently flood irrigated area, you see again the pink square marking out a 1/2 acre. So there's more opportunities and more options we think in this area as well to both coordinate with the park and for polygrarians in the long run. So this is a second option that we've looked at. The red lines are road access. Again, it's not as good road access and vehicle access or pedestrian access for the public. And because one of our missions is education and public access, we think that's a good rationale for starting at the other portion of the park. So similar projects that have gone on are there's Slow Food Lake Tahoe, which is a coordinated organizing group looking at creating food access for the community based on local food. Zanger Farm in Portland and Jean-Martin Fortier's Les Jardins de la Grenette, which is a high-density vegetable farm similar to the one we're proposing, and that's the one pictured here, where it's permanent raised beds that have very high-density vegetables grown in them. And sometimes it's covered with row cover, that's the white cloth there, and other times it's open, and you can see the variations in colors and crop types and the kind of what it would look like to have people working there as well. Here's an example locally of a local high-intensity vegetable farm that was done. This is off of the corner of Center Street and I think Moran, Lost City Farm, and they ran an operation there for a couple of years until the property was priced out for development as part of Midtown because of the urban infill that's going on there. And that's all we have. One thing that was asked last time was the water use, so I also want to address that. For the initial quarter acre, we would be looking at using about 25 to 30,000 gallons a month during the summer. That scales up to about 100,000 to 120,000 gallons a month for an acre of vegetables for the summer. Thank you. And we'll take any questions now.
All right, thank you, Neil. Yes.
Do you want me to ask one at a time or all at once?
Start with one.
I guess this is for staff. Colleen, what's the impact to existing pasture agreements that?
So what we would do, and I already did at least bring it up to our current pasture leasee, and I just let him know that this was potentially going to happen and that it would be roughly about a 5-acre parcel and about where. And the where was a question when I talked with him, and now it's a little more clear based on access to existing water. And so he was not completely opposed to it. He was a little concerned, expressed some concern that the neighbors might have based on parking and that kind of stuff. So that was what he had to share.
You initially said that you would like to see a 5-year agreement with a couple of add-on years. The current agreement looks like 3 years with an option to renew 1 year at a time for 2 additional years. What's the more acceptable approach, and what, I guess staff's recommending 3 years with 1 and 1?
Yeah, those are our typical agreements. They're usually a 3-year agreement with an option to renew for 2 years, which would then equate to the 5 that they're hopefully, gonna obtain.
And one last question. What would happen if the institute dissolves? I see that you have the ability to cancel the agreement with 30 days notice on either side, but if that were to take place, whether it's on your side or on the county side, what then happens to the property? Who's responsible for any cleanup, et cetera?
We would consider ourselves responsible for the cleanup. Our current thoughts are that if the underground water line were to be installed, that it would be a permanent asset and it would be left there because it's very expensive to take it out. And then that's part of why we left it within the existing footprint of the orchard and the fenced area. And then any changes that were made to the rest of the property, we would renovate, we would return to the original condition, so we would reseed it to pasture. And our plan is to put aside some money, like a bond for that, so that we can do that in case we dissolve or something like that happens.
Thank you.
Ann Buckley. Back to the goats, which I asked about last week. You said you had about 6 goats, and I was looking at the map, and it seems to me that the northeast piece would be the furthest from homes, and so that might be the best area if you had livestock. It's fronting onto the road, and people across the road there's traffic. And then there's a barrier everywhere else, so I thought from that point of view, if there were cultivation or animals there or whatever, it would be the furthest from the homes and least disturb them. And if it's just being used as pasture at the moment and it became very productive, it seems to me like it might be a very good idea. And I don't know how staff feels about it, but I'm very curious to see how it works out. Thank you.
I have a question. Been a year since you've been 501c, is that correct? Are you the money you're going to do this project, is it from grants or donations or what?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. We work with the Nevada Department of Ag, and we've had some grants to fund the HOPS project already for that. We've been in conversation with Nevada Department of Ag to fund this project. Obviously, we're at a little bit of a crunch because we don't have we don't have permission to have the farm, so it's difficult to get yes from everything that we're asking money from. But in addition to grants, we also work with some private foundations and then through private donorships. And then our mentorship would be a fee-for-service program. So students entering into our mentorship program would pay a small amount. And we would also have farm membership subscribers, so individual donors at small amounts.
Thank you.
Maybe I missed this. On the water line, were you guys gonna pay for the water line extension also?
Yes, that was our plan. We would pay for the extension, and once it's installed, it would be left as an asset to the park. So we would work with the county parks and facilities to make sure that it was installed in a way that was accessible and acceptable to the Park Service, and then we would pay for it and leave it there unless it was requested to be removed.
And then is all the engineering gonna be done in-house, or were you guys thinking about having a consultant do that, or has it been modeled? I'm just putting my engineering hat on. So
Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate that. So we haven't had access to the actual map of the irrigation system itself. So we just had to do a site assessment based on what we could find visibly. So we would be open to what the park's recommendation, and we would make it work depending on, what's requested and what's needed. We could do it in-house, or we could find a consultant or an engineer on our own.
Okay. And then my last question, so the way the mapping is, you guys preferred that northeast section, it looks like. So does that overlap the existing hay? So there would have to be some kind of coordination between the existing leasing and... So would you come back to us with that?
Yeah, so in the map, the road, there's a road, it's like an old paved road that delineates the section that they're looking at, that they're most interested in. And so the current leasee would no longer be haying that portion of the property. So I think it's a total of about a 30-acre parcel, and then 6 acres would be removed out of that lease agreement for polyagrarian, and then the ditch water wouldn't be utilized for that area. The ditch water would have to stop and be diverted elsewhere.
Okay. One more question, sorry. Do we charge for that existing lease right now on that land?
We do.
So I guess how much would we be losing with that?
We'd have to determine a reduction of fees based on the loss of acreage.
Okay.
Yeah, but he does pay annually for the use of that land.
Okay, great, thank you.
I just want to say that, as we raise funds, we would also be willing to pay for a lease with the county if it's a funding issue from the loss of revenue for the pasture funding.
Ann Buckley, one question. Will you sell the produce that you produce?
Yeah, that's the plan. One of the funding revenue streams is a fee-for-service through sales of produce to the local food system. So it would be sold through a membership program to local families. It would also be sold to local restaurants. And then we also have partnership programs that we're looking at with Renown as part of their prescription food program. And those are the primary sales channels that we're looking at now, but we're open to other suggestions and ideas.
Thank you.
All right. I'd just like to say I think this is a strong public-private partnership that'll help teach both kids and adults where their food comes from locally. I fully support this. Are there any public comments? Looks like we do have one public comment, and that's Kathy Brandhorst. Kathy, I hope your comments are pertinent to this farming initiative when you talk, okay? Okay, you got your 3 minutes.
My name is Kathy Brandhorst, and I'm also the United States President. I know that there has been prostitution, children's slavery. The children's slavery is, where they have to work, in the fields, but they are not safe at all. They are shot down in the fields because they don't put out enough work. Or maybe they are whipped until dead. I just wanted to tell you too, that the children are shot down with bullets. And Cesar Chavez, he is in a wheelchair, and he does have the ability to shoot people down in fields. We found this out way back in San Jose, California. And he did use slavery, no matter if they were adults or children. Water. The water is stolen from the river. It's not used from the city or the county water. So they know they can get it for nothing. Supermarkets, they have never gotten no plants or no food or nothing from these people at all. So I'm not sure who they're feeding. I just wanted to tell you, it's just not a purpose to be here at all. And I heard maybe it could be closed down. I hope so, in order to save the children's lives. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Any other comments, public comments? Go ahead. Will you fill out a card then, please?
Oh, I have.
That's all right.
I have.
You did, Kathy. I'm talking to the person in the audience here. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to thank you guys for moving forward with this. I'm actually excited to see. I know that there's some legit questions that need answered, but I really appreciate the fact that this is an opportunity to add more layers of use out of our public parks. We have entrepreneurship. You never know what kind of economic impact that might have. We have nutritional value coming out of the park system. So this is exciting in the fact that we're adding layers of ways that parks serve the citizens, and I just really like this, and I really respect you guys kind of stepping up and moving forward with this. And with that said, if it's time, I'd like to advance a motion.
Looks
Oh,
like we have
sorry.
one more public comment. All right.
Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I just wanted to say I'm in full support. I feel really fortunate to have so many amazing friends who are willing to push forward the food movement. I think the thing that brings us together mostly in life is the fact that we all eat 3 times a day, and that has gotten really skewed. And I've worked in social services for the last 10 years, but have been an organic farmer for 8 years, and worked primarily in Lyon County doing a lot of education. And the thing I saw over and over again is that food is medicine, and more than just bringing together community and educating, we literally are changing lives by showing people what the potential of working with your hands are. And so it sounds like you guys are pretty convinced, but I just wanted to say it is a beautiful initiative, and I'm so proud of the city that we have and how willing our members are to really collaborate for the good of all of our citizens. And I love Urban Roots is very near and dear to my heart, but I love the opportunity to train the young people that I see over and over again from 17 to 30 that just want to get out of the rat race and use their hands and learn how to take care of themselves and their community. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Rebecca. Could you state your last name for the record?
May.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? Then we'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, I was just going to move to recommend to staff to negotiate a lease agreement between Washoe County and the Poly Agrarian Institute as an authorized under NRS 244.284 to be taken to the Board of County Commissioners for possible approval.
All right, we have a second?
I'm gonna go ahead and second it, but I do have a comment with my second. I would just like to ask during the negotiations that you just look into, I know this is a no-profit organization, but just to, our funding is small enough right now, so if there's any way to get any kind of revenue as for the lease to offset what we'll be losing, it'd be appreciated, I think, through this board and through the county. And I second that.
All right, we have a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, next we have item 10, which is Program Park of the Month, which is Tales from the Trail.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Parks Operations Superintendent. I would like to welcome Samantha Sazorka with the May Museum. And Samantha had an incredible journey last summer, and I wanted her to be able to share at least just a small portion of her journey. So without further ado, and with no more spoiler alerts, here is Samantha.
Thanks for letting me be here to share some stories with you. So yeah, most of you know me probably from the May Museum, where I'm the assistant curator. But today I'm going to talk to you about a project, a project I started a few years ago called the Nevada Discovery Ride. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'll give you a little background. So in 2013, I rode my horse Sage across Nevada. We started on the Utah border, and we rode about 500 miles across central Nevada to end in Reno. And that journey took 1 month. That was not enough of an adventure for me. So last year, I set out again. Sage and I rode a little over 1,100 miles all the way around northern Nevada. And that journey took us almost 3 months to complete. I had a number of sponsors for this project, Nevada State Parks, the Nevada Commission on Tourism, and Washoe County as well. And I started this project as a way to have an adventure with my horse and explore and get to know Nevada, but also to promote wild horse adoption, which is an issue that I'm very passionate about. This presentation normally is an hour, so I'm gonna give you the very quick version and encourage you to come to one of my talks if you want to hear more. So this is the entirety of the Nevada Discovery Ride team. There's me, I'm the solo rider. My husband Ryan is my support person. His official title would be the pack mule because he drives the truck carrying all the hay and the water, which is of course the most logistically challenging thing about long distance riding in Nevada. My horse Sage is an adopted Mustang. He came from the prison program in Carson City, and we've been exploring and traveling Nevada together ever since. And then, of course, you have to have a good trail dog when you set out in the West. Bella is, she's a mutt from the Humane Society, and she's been riding with me since she was a puppy. She did the 2013 ride across Nevada with me, as well as this longer ride this last fall. So that's the whole team right there. So we started this ride in August of 2016. The day-to-day itinerary was basically to get up at 4 a.m., inhale a little breakfast, a cup of coffee, saddle up, and try to be on the trail by 6 a.m. In part, that was to try to get a bunch of miles in to beat the heat, because again, it was August in Nevada. So very hot days. The later in the season, the further east and the higher in elevation we got, the longer. I might be able to sleep until 8 a.m. some mornings. That was like a nice break. Most days, Ryan would try to meet up with me midday for a water and feed break for the horse. If the terrain could not allow for that, then I would just ride the whole day by myself, and then Ryan and I would try to meet each other at the end of the day. I tried to average about 20 miles a day, but was flexible depending on the weather, the terrain, my mood, Sage's mood. And I usually rode between 6 to 10 hours a day. And then would rendezvous again with Ryan, get a campsite set up, and do it all again the next morning. Typically rode 6 days in a row, and then would take 1 to 2 days to rest. And those rest days were important for me to clean tack and gear, for Ryan to drive hundreds of miles to the nearest town to resupply, and also to give my horse a break. So here's the route that I did this last year. I started at the geographic center of Nevada, which is just outside Austin. There's nothing there except a sign. Sometimes it gets stolen a lot. I was fortunate that when I started that the state had put out a new sign for me to take a picture of. So then I headed east toward the Utah border, made that sort of little wonky counterclockwise loop all the way around northern Nevada, touching Utah, Idaho, Oregon, California, and then to end in Reno. This is not an official trail. I spent about 2 years putting this route together myself. I basically picked all my favorite mountain ranges in Nevada, or the places that looked like they might be the most fun to ride on horseback, and then figured out how to link them. So then again, the whole route ended up being a little over 1,100 miles. It is intentionally as backcountry as possible, because I wanted to avoid any towns or busy roads as much as I could. So it goes through some pretty tough country, but also really diverse country. So if you're traveling on horseback in Nevada, you do unfortunately have to suffer some very long days traveling across very flat, boring valleys, waiting for the mountain ranges out in the distance to get just a little bit closer. But really, the mountain ranges were the goal for me, and the highlights of the ride. Sage and I crossed 22 mountain ranges on this last ride, and all of them were pretty incredible. This is in the Antelope Range out in eastern Nevada, and everything you can see back is actually Utah. So we climbed mountain ranges and were able to look down into Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and California. Sometimes we traveled on nice graded gravel roads, but the majority of my route was a combination of old BLM and Forest Service roads, which make up a shocking amount of the state. I'm convinced Nevada has the highest percentage of unimproved roads of any state. And I would loved it because we'd get on roads like this and you think this isn't a road at all, but they're on your maps and your GPS still listed as drivable roads. And I felt bad for whoever followed the maps and ended up out there. But worth it if you're on horseback. I also intentionally picked up a lot of historic immigrant trails, including the Pony Express Trail, the Applegate-Lassen Trail, the California Trail, the original Lincoln Highway, which out in eastern Nevada is still gravel, and happy to say that no cannibalism occurred on the ride, despite the fact that we did pick up Hastings Cutoff for a short portion of the ride, which if any history buffs here will know that's the shortcut taken by the Donner Party. But getting to pick up these historic routes was really eye-opening because it gives you a whole new perspective on how our pioneer settlers traveled across Nevada, because for the views are the same, and so you feel like you're really traveling in their footsteps. One of the best parts of traveling around Nevada by horse is getting to see wildlife up close. We saw all the usual Nevada animals: pronghorn antelope, coyotes, mule deer, one badger, which caught this picture of him napping. Ryan spied some bighorn sheep and a mountain lion, but unfortunately they were gone by the time I got there. None of these animals were a problem for us. They didn't typically care that we were riding through, and my horse didn't care either. So it was really cool to be able to see them. Maybe not the bull elk. We saw quite a few bull elk on the ride, and they were a little scary. But by far the most common animal encounters we had were with wild horses. As I'm sure you know, Nevada has more wild horses than any other state. I think we saw all of them on this ride. Maybe not, but we saw probably thousands. I intentionally routed through a lot of herd management areas so that I could see them. They're pretty amazing to see out on the range, but also potentially dangerous. The stallions in particular can be incredibly aggressive, and it's a territorial aggression. So I think I can confidently say that my horse and I have been attacked by wild horses more than anyone else in the world, probably. We constantly, almost daily, we're being charged by wild horses. So I spent a lot of time defending my horse in camp from wild horse attacks. So they came on the trail. and also in the middle of the night when I was in camp. Not fun clambering out of a tent at 2 in the morning in pitch black to try to chase off wild horses. And again, the horses it's just a territorial aggression, and they know even from miles away when a strange horse is moving through their territory. We face just about every kind of weather that Nevada has to offer. Again, when we started in August, I think it was 1,000,000 degrees. It felt like it. For me, the heat was the hardest weather to travel through, especially in those low elevation valley crossings, because you're just so exposed, and no amount of water or sunscreen seems to save you after 6 hours of riding in the desert sun. Early on, we had some nice summer thunderstorms, but by the end of the ride in October, we were in torrential downpour. And I also can tell you that after 6 hours of riding in the rain, there's no such thing as waterproof gear. We were up near the Idaho border when the temperatures dropped below freezing. Everything was frozen over for several days, and so I have about 12 layers of clothes on in that photo. And then once the temperatures dropped below freezing, we were getting snowed on also by the end of the ride. Not a ton, but enough to stick in the higher elevations, and a good reminder to hurry up and get home. It would be impossible to tell you everything that happened over the course of 3 months, because living on the trail, this sort of travel every day is an adventure with highs and lows and challenges to overcome. So every day was sort of a surprise, and that I never knew what to expect despite my best planning. As you can see, my dog got a face full of cactus. There were lots of insects, some wounds from opening old barbed wire gates. I did have to cross several busy roads despite my planning, including Interstate 80. I did camp in a few less than desirable places. I had to take some unintended detours. For example, when I found a giant gold mine had sprung up on my route, and I had to find a way around it. I did get lost a few times. But all of that was really worth it to see Nevada. I think traveling by horse is the best way to get to know Nevada, because when you're traveling at 3 miles per hour, you see everything, and you begin to slowly understand the nuances of the land and how they change mile to mile. So I rode into Reno at the end of October. I was very fortunate to have a group of supporters there to cheer us back into town. It was very surreal to be home after living on the trail for 3 months. I think everybody was in a state of shock coming back to civilization. We felt like we could have gone another 1,000 miles. Only my dog was happy. She immediately got on her dog bed and hasn't gotten off since. So we did a little over 1,100 miles. In 74 days, we rode through 8 Nevada counties, 2 Nevada state parks. The only town we rode through was the very small, remote town of Jarbidge, which is up on the Idaho border, if you're not familiar. Rode right through quote-unquote, downtown Jarbidge. It was very exciting. The highest elevation was a little over 9,000. The lowest was about 4,000. And shockingly, only 1 tire repair the whole journey for Ryan, which was a testament to his desert driving. I lost 23 pounds. So this is my new project, will be extreme weight loss plan for people. I lost weight, my horse didn't. He came back looking like he was on steroids. He was just solid muscle. He was a tank. So I've been really fortunate since I've been home that I've been traveling literally around the country, giving presentations on the ride. I just got back from Tennessee, where I gave 5 talks on the ride in 3 days. I've been writing a series of articles for various horse publications, and was invited to be a member of the Long Riders Guild, which is an international association of equestrian explorers. So I'm very excited to have been able to do this ride twice now, to share Nevada with people who don't know Nevada, and also wild horses. And my website's there, nevadadiscoveryride.com. I am, of course, should be of no surprise, already planning future rides. Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Samantha. Comments? Not, yeah.
Samantha? Did you say that, where did you adopt your dog from?
Bella came from the Humane Society.
It's awesome. And then your horse is a prison
He's,
gentle
yeah, he was
Mustang.
born in the wild in central Nevada, rounded up when he was 2, and he ended up in the prison program in Carson City. So he spent 90 days where he was paired with an inmate for gentling and training, so it's a phenomenal program. The recidivism rate in the prison program is wonderfully low compared to general population. It's a good program for the horses and the inmates. They hold a public adoption after the 90 days, and that's where I went and bid and adopted Sage.
So my question to you is, has Washoe County's community relations done any video production or anything for you to put on our different channels?
They did. As I said, Washoe County was a sponsor for the ride in exchange for letting me take so much time off work to do it. And they were wonderful about coming out and filming beforehand. They created a series of videos, including for the State of the County address. There was a video about the ride in that.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again, Samantha. That was
Yep.
fascinating. All right, moving on, we have park reports, which may be Colleen.
Thank you. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Parks Operations Superintendent. Sorry, that's the first time I heard Samantha's presentation, and I'm totally impressed, so I got sidetracked. So a couple of updates from our park districts. We are in the process of interviewing our seasonal staff, which is lovely because we get to double the amount of staff usually out there in our parks, and we're looking forward to a lot of help based on flood damage repairs, so we need people out there. So just so you know, the Bowers Pump Room project, the construction has begun, hoping to complete that project by Memorial Day. Upcoming in the South region, we have the Healthy Parks, Healthy People event that's going to be taking place at Bartley Ranch, rain or shine or snow, this coming Saturday, April 8th. And there's supposed to be 25 agencies out there helping promote healthy lifestyles and participating in vendors. In the North region, the Phase 5 of North Valleys went out to bid, and unfortunately, we got no bidders. So we are going back to the drawing board and refining our bid packet and then going from there. Upcoming events in the North region, we have the 8th annual Purple Pinky Polio Run on Saturday, April 22nd. So that'll be coming up here. Just a couple updates from the May Center. We did begin construction on the Arboretum greenhouse. I don't know if anybody's been up in that corner of the area, but we actually have a structure in place, which is great. There were several months of delay on that project based on weather concerns, but we are in the process, which is wonderful. Just today, they started their Arboretum horticulture training. They have about 19 participants, max of 30, so it's still open and available if anybody's interested. It's going to be 3 days a week for about 3 weeks, and it's great training for anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about gardening and then get to volunteer in the May Arboretum. And then we have a few updates from the museum. County Employee Night, we had one on March 14th. We actually was very successful. We had 145 people to come out and enjoy the Toytopia exhibit, the traveling exhibit. We'll have another night at the museum. I believe it's going to be on April 5th, right? Tomorrow night. So we have another one planned for tomorrow night from 4 to 8. We also have another adult recess, which is an adults only visit through Toytopia, which is kind of a fun event too. The first one sold out, so we anticipate the second one being successful as well. And then that exhibit wraps up April 16th. So if you haven't gotten in to get in to take a chance to see it, please come visit. And that's all I have for Park Report.
All right, thank you. Any comments?
I have something. I just want to let you know that I will be, myself and 2 of my girlfriends will be running the 5K on the 8th in preparation for an October half marathon at the Grand Canyon that we're going to do. So this is our first training event for this.
Fantastic. And I'd just like to add as well that the Arboretum training is a great way to get involved as a volunteer in the community, and the training that they provide is excellent. I heard that the presenter for botany tomorrow is fantastic, so you should sign up and go to that. It starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow. You got to sign up and go. Yeah. The trainings happen for, I don't know how long they go, for a month or so, 3 weeks. 3 weeks of training, and then, you know, you're supposed to come in and help out in the Arboretum for that, so, yeah. All right, next we have Director's Report.
Actually, I was hoping to grab the last end of the park report here.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
this,
go
so no problem. For the record, Dave Solero, Director of Community Services Department. This is actually the golf report. This is something that you all asked for at the last meeting. It will again be a standing item. That's one of those things that I need to prepare for the Board of County Commissioners as well. And I apologize, I am not very prepared to cover a comprehensive golf report this month, just due to other things happening in Washoe County. So, you know, as you for the commissioner, as you may have heard, we're still continuing to deal with this unusual weather that we've been having since really started late October. Specifically, right now we're focused on Lemon Valley, the non-dry playa up in Lemon Valley, as well as Swan Lake, Silver Lake, and White Lake. Some mitigation measures and kind of ongoing taking care of the residents up there. You know, if Samantha was going to go on her trail ride this year, she might have to take a boat with her because all of northern Nevada has seen some extraordinary amounts of water. And I suggest that, you know, if you haven't seen it, you may want to just drive to Susanville because Honey Lake is actually full of water as well. And that is a big body of water. So that's the reason I'm not as prepared with the report. But I did want to come and let you know that I am meeting monthly with both operators of our golf courses, so Sierra Sage Golf Course and Washoe Golf Course. January was very slow for both of the operators. In fact, there's some flood damage that's occurred up at Sierra Sage. I'll be going up on Friday to review some of that and see what that looks like. Washoe, we actually had a little bit of flood damage there as well. The 12th hole actually looked like a lake for a while. Some water coming out of the ditch, and it's pretty impressive pictures. But in any case, both operators are, you know, really looking forward to this spring and some of the weather that we've gotten. February really picked up at Washoe Golf. There were a total of 725 rounds of play in the month of February, and at Sierra Sage there were 404. Which is really a big difference from 28 in January for Washoe and 17 out at Sierra Sage for January. So spring is looking forward. I'm happy to report, you know, there were some concerns kind of with Washoe and what that was going to look like. Washoe County hasn't been expending any money out there. It has all been the operator. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing under the agreement, and we have received our payments, and the last payment actually came in early, so that was good news. So we're going to continue to work through that and continue that relationship at Washoe Golf. If you haven't been up there, they've got some exciting things actually going on. They've painted in the clubhouse, changed around kind of how the desk works in the clubhouse, working on the 100th anniversary tournament sometime this summer. It's really 100 years since Washoe Golf has been a golf course within Washoe County. They've got a couple of other tournaments in April. They're talking about I think they're calling it an 8-inch cup tournament. They've got to do some work on the greens, and so they're going to go out there and put a big 8-inch cup so guys like me can actually play golf and feel good about it. So they're doing some things to help get other people involved, which is exactly what we wanted through this process. So I'm happy to report that at least both golf courses are on the road to having a great summer. And I really, all the golfers out there, please go out and use your courses. They are affordable for a reason, and that is for all of the golfers and the experience that we have within Washoe County. We've got 2 of the courses. Go out and use Washoe County courses, Sierra Sage, Washoe County.
Thank you. Any comments? Ian?
Ann Buckley. I'm absolutely impressed with the amount of income they had in January in Washoe. 17,000, which seems amazing, seeing how much snow we had and what have you. So that augurs well. They sold a lot of annual passes. And they only had 23 rounds, which is kind of good for January. But they must have charged a lot, given what the fees were. So yeah. I don't know how the math works out, but anyway, I'm very pleased, and I've heard reports. In fact, I intended to play the course before this meeting, but I didn't get a chance. That the greens are bigger already. They had shrunk and got smaller, and they're starting to get bigger. It's going to take a little time, and I've driven past it, and it looks much greener. And of course, they should have lots of water this year, and we'll see. But I'm glad to hear that the money's coming in and that they're doing well.
Yeah, they are starting to do quite a bit of work on the course, getting ready for irrigation, raising heads, leveling them out, doing some of those things that, they've told us have been problematic in the past, so they're taking that on. They are expanding some of those greens, working on the bunkers, and I think they're, overall trying to really get things moving. They really understand that this is their time to shine, and they fully intend to do that, so.
Good, thank you.
Doug? You look like you wanted to say something.
No.
Okay, all right, well then, we'll move on to the director's report.
Again, Dave Solero, Director of Community Services Department. As Colleen mentioned, we've got a lot of things going on within our parks. Spring has sprung, things are happening, but we're still working on damage that has occurred and prioritizing that damage. And I just really wanted to give this body the assurance that staff is out there doing the best they can with the resources that are available. There is a lot of damage that was done within our parks, and we're trying to make sure that any of those reservations that have been taken care, that are out there that are longstanding are going to be taken care of. Our number one priority, however, is to make sure our parks are safe. So, if you're out there in the community and you're talking with people and they're, complaining about, parks not being open and those sorts of things, areas of parks, really it's for the safety of our patrons and it's safety of our employees as well. So we're going through this, we're getting there. It's no different than we're prioritizing the work on our roadways and our roadside ditches within the rest of the Community Services Department. We're taking a focus on parks. So that's really the director's report to you, is we are out there getting ready for spring, but safety is the number one priority for our patrons as well as our employees. So I just want to make sure that you had that information, and because I'm sure you hear it from people, why isn't this park open? Why is this park closed? There are a lot of things out there that pose safety hazards. We want to make sure those are addressed prior to opening those areas back up if they are indeed closed. So.
Honestly, you're doing a great job, because the damage, for example, out at South Valleys with the creek overflowing there and going through the playground and the ball fields and everything else, all that's been repaired as it should be repaired in a timely manner. And I did have an occasion out there to talk to some people, and nobody was upset. I haven't been out to Lemon Valley, so I didn't talk to anybody out there. But
the parks look great.
Yeah, but I think staff's doing a tremendous job, given what you have to work with in terms of numbers, particularly you don't have your seasonal employees on board yet, for the most part, and it's a tough chore, and you'll get there. And any support that we can give from our side, certainly I'd be happy to talk to people as much as possible, because all good things happen in time, and you guys are doing the best you can with the resources you have. That's why we need to continually speak about budgets and get the dollars ramped up to get the manpower that you need for a growing park system.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, right now with us advertising for seasonals, it's been a struggle for us, quite frankly, to get enough seasonal help, whether that's shortened summer times, whatever it looks like. So if you know any, young up-and-comers that want a job in the parks this summer, we can always utilize that extra bit of seasonal help.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner?
What the director neglects to tell you, Mr. Chairman, is that when you came to our meeting and spoke on behalf of the board, you didn't stay to when it came back to us, which I know you have a job, but he made the pitch that you had all decided that a 7% reinstatement of parks funding towards operations, not capital, was justified. So I also put on the record that I expect Mr. Solaro to find that 7% and start making these parks whole again. It's their turn to be up at the plate.
Yeah, I think we would all wholeheartedly agree with that up here. And I would just like to say that I have no doubt that, Director Solero, Director Crump, you guys are both working hard to make sure that the county is repaired. I know it was a lot of work to go through the FEMA process, and I'm very happy that that's coming back well in our favor. Yeah, I think you guys are doing amazing work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one comment.
I have a quick comment on the flooding. I kind of keep my mouth shut on the flooding as an engineer, but since I'm under the public, I'm allowed to say this stuff now. as an engineer, you just can't design for that kind of flooding. It's not economically feasible to design for that. And I know there's a lot of finger pointing, and yeah, I've been through some of those board meetings where the commissioners' staff are just getting hammered. And I just want to say that under the record that you can design for a flood like that, but there's not enough money in this county that could design probably one culvert for that kind of flood. So I think the staff has done a great job. And I think just public awareness is, you know, the best idea to move forward. So, thanks.
All right. All right, that looks like it for the director's report. Next, we have commissioner comments. Any comments? Commissioners? Yes.
I have a couple comments. First of all, snow plowing. I live up in up by Mount Rose, and I just want to say that at the beginning of the winter, with the amount of snow, I don't think the county was prepared for that. I don't think anyone was, but they responded really well as far as snow plowing as more than one lane. It's amazing, just as a parks commissioner, how much comments I get from my neighbors. They think I can solve everything, and that's just not the case. So, but I do want to thank everyone, staff, for getting on top of that. As far as the golf, I was at the commission meeting when the new lease was approved, and I had a lot of I don't know how you want to say it. I had probably some disagreements with how the commissioners voted, but the one thing I will say is it seems like they are following their promises. I have seen a lot of advertisements for Washoe Golf, more than I've ever seen in my life, and as most of you know, I was born and raised here, so I appreciate them following through what they did say, and it's makes me a little more calmer on the lease agreement. So, thank you.
Commissioner comments? My only comment would be this, and that is, you know, looking at seasonal staffing, it's kind of like rebuilding this core group that doesn't exist anymore before the recession. And please correct me if I'm wrong, especially Director Crump, you would know this, but I do believe there were at least 100 seasonal employees. I've heard more than that, and now we're down to what, maybe a dozen coming on, something. I'm not sure what your numbers are, but it's just a handful. So you know, recruiting for those folks is vital, but it's one of those things where we're still facing like hangover of the recession, where we can't even find a dozen to replace where we used to have 100 that were doing all kinds of programs, doing trail work, just so many different things. So that 7% increase would go a long way to pushing those seasonal numbers back up. That would be a really great reinvestment in our parks. Okay, so any other commissioner comments? If not, we have one more public comment. Moving on to public comments, and that would be Kathy Brandhurst.
My name is Kathy Brandhorst, and I'm also the United States President. The problem is still going to exist. I told you before that I have moved out of the Donner Motel, and I'm now in Sparks. The poles and wires are still connected to my home, and like I told you, we did not have no heat for a few days because they have stolen that heat and they're using it in their own homes. But they don't live there. They don't live there at all. Like I told you, they had to shoot down the seniors who moved into those apartments, and they were filled with bullets. And like I told you too, that they never had a chance at all, because these people just moved right into their homes just like it was nothing. And they cannot get back to their homes because some of them are refusing to know that are we going to be safe? No, we're not going to be safe at all. We're going to go through this until they're all gone. They say that the seniors were living a little bit too high in their standards, but that's not true either. Because as you know, that they have worked all their lives and they do deserve a place to live. I heard one lady say, I lived there for 11 years. And this is not going to continue, I hope, because if it is, there's not going to be any of us left in Sparks. They are feeling that they have to evacuate Sparks, and Sparks is getting very afraid of being even in their own homes over there. And I know that on that sidewalk where I used to live at the Aloha Inn, there were homeless people there, and still the homeless people are still looking for a place to live for nothing. Because they do come across the border of Mexico and into the U.S., they have no money at all. They have no income, so this is where they have to steal payroll checks. And they don't care how they get it. They will steal yours too. They will steal mine, and they are. And also the bank robberies have been real high because they have no way of getting any kind of money at all.
Thank you, Kathy. And on that note, we are adjourned. Thank you all.